As Doug said, I used to be the state bituminous engineer in Texas, and a lot of the asphalt rubber work that we did in Texas started under my watch when I was working over there. And in fact, asphalt rubber had some things to do with making me somewhat famous in some circles. So I decided that I wanted to pursue the American dream of being both rich and famous, and I left the department and went to the private sector. So I am still pursuing that dream. Hasn't gotten there yet. But the important thing I want to say is the person that succeeded me, Dale Rand, who is now the state bituminous engineer, carried on the torch with the asphalt rubber and really perfected a lot of things that we started over there. And a lot of what I'm going to present to you is Dale's work. So with that said and proper credit given, I'll start. TxDOT has been using asphalt rubber since 1980s, and in 1994 we actually started using asphalt rubber in hot mix applications. We have used asphalt rubber for seal coat and hot mix, and we have had successes with both type of applications, along with some failures, which we learned from. And so the road to success is usually got some potholes in it, and we've had our share of potholes. What I would like to talk to you about today is TxDOT's use of asphalt rubber in what we call a permeable friction course. And I think that I've heard it called open-graded mixture today. There are several different names for it, but permeable friction course is basically a mix that we put down hoping that the water will drain through it and not puddle on the roadway. And TxDOT has used both terminal blend asphalt rubber and the wet process. Most of what we talk about when we talk about asphalt rubber in Texas is a wet process, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on. As far as the permeable friction course, what we want to get out of this type of application is to improve the comfort, safety, and the durability of the pavement. I think as the evolution of the highway system goes, the first thing you do when you build the highway is you want to basically enable people to go from point A to point B, just get them out of the mud. And then as we get better and better at what we do, then we want to make that ride more comfortable, and we want it to be durable so we don't spend a lot of money. And then, of course, we want to have a very safe highway system in place. And we feel like that the porous friction course helps us in all these three categories as far as comfort, of course, lower noise and better ride quality. That helps the traveling public. As far as safety, we think we can get better visibility of our striping and less hydroplaning, and then durability, of course, is something that we believe that we get out of these materials. I'll go ahead and talk about comfort and durability a little bit, but the main topic of my discussion is safety of the roadway. As far as comfort, when we talk about comfort, we mean smoothness of the roadway. The roadway needs to be comfortable for people to drive on. Doug, where is that little... I think Jack walked off with it. Okay. We have a lot of data that shows that we really get very good ride quality out of the permeable friction course. Here's one example of two projects that we did in fall of 2001. One of them is a continuously reinforced concrete pavement that we did in Wichita Falls, which is northern Texas. And as you can see, looking at the right of this pavement, we're getting somewhere from 80 to 100 IRI, International Roughness Index, is a measure of smoothness. On a concrete pavement, we get about 80 to 100 IRIs on a brand new concrete pavement. And just for your information, in Texas, anything less than an IRI of 65, anything more than an IRI of 65 is considered a failure. We actually penalize the contractor when they give us a ride with IRI more than 65. And so, obviously, in this project, there was some penalties. Here is a porous friction course that was built about the same time adjacent to it, and we're getting an IRI of 40. So from the standpoint of comfort, this ride is a lot more smoother. A contractor makes more money out of it than the pavement that was adjacent to it, built about the same way. So we have a lot of data that shows we get very good ride off these type of systems. As far as durability, this is a picture that I took in Northeast Texas. You can see a 1-inch open graded friction course or porous friction course that we have placed on this roadway. It's a state highway that goes through the forest, and yes, we do have forests in Texas. The existing surface has some cement stabilized base in it, and as you can see, there are transverse cracks that are associated with cement stabilization. Looks pretty much like a concrete pavement, and we placed this 1-inch porous friction course over it, and after 9 years, you can see the cracks are all underneath, but none of it is coming up. And so this is the example of durability that we feel like we get from these type of systems. And so it really goes, and again, there is documented cases where we have seen this over and over in Texas. So we're confident that we get more comfortable and more durable ride out of these porous friction courses. And the thing that we want to now look at is, are we making a safer highway by going to this type of pavement? Some of the things that we all know, but I want to emphasize to you, is that we all know for most people, driving is the most dangerous activity that they take on. Every day you go to work, you sit there, and the worst danger you got is having a paper cut. But on the way to work, you can actually get killed in an accident or what have you. And another interesting fact is that by 1950s, more Americans were killed in auto accidents than were killed in both world wars. That's a pretty striking fact. Every day we go to work, and just by that action, we get ourselves killed. A high percentage of the accidents happen in intersections and horizontal or vertical curves. Okay, so wherever you got, slow down, speed up, and sight distance problem, you get into problem. Wet weather accidents account for a high percentage of highway fatalities. A lot of accidents happen during the rain, and that's where people get killed. Almost all accidents are avoidable. If you look at any particular accident, there are very few of them that you can say, okay, this couldn't have been avoided, okay? Speed is the cause of the most accidents, and the thing that's really important is that the difference between the speed of driveway A versus driveway B is what kills people. If everybody went at the same speed, they would never collide with each other. But invariably, one is going to be going slower than the other one, and they're going to run into each other. So the common attitude is that people say, if we just get everybody to slow down, we're going to save people's lives. Well, we know that that's not going to happen. Fortunately, we design our highways for people who don't always obey the rules, okay? We design highways with safety in mind. And here's some of the redundant features that we put in the highways. For example, in every bridge, we got some sort of a railing so people won't fall over. We could put guardrails, and we have rumble strips. When people fall asleep, they go over the rumble strip, they wake up. We have shoulders, so when people deviate from the roadway, they don't fall in the bar ditch. We have median barriers, and we have crash cushions. We put safety end treatments on the culverts, and we do a lot of things to make the highway safer. We've done really what we can. The question we ask ourselves now is, can we do something to the pavement surface to improve the safety of the overall system? Is it possible that we can yet enhance the safety of our system by doing something to the pavement? Now, we believe that the PFC, permeable friction course, can improve the safety because it reduces the risk of hydroplaning. The water doesn't stand on the roadway surface, so it will improve the safety by that. The water will drain off of the roadway quicker, so if there is not water puddles on the roadway, you don't hydroplane. Reducing the spray and reducing the glare will improve the safety, and improving the visibility of the traffic marking will improve the safety. If people can see the striping, maybe they'll be able to stay in their own lane. And then the coarse macro texture improves the frictions. This is what we believe, okay? As highway engineers, this all makes sense to us. Nobody's going to dispute with any of this. The question we have is, can we prove that these things will actually reduce the accidents on the highway, okay? Is there proof that doing all this will improve the safety by reducing the accident? We think that we have some proof. There are several proofs that we got, and I want to show you a couple of them. There's a project in San Antonio, Texas, on Interstate Highway 35, asphalt rubber PFC overlay of an existing continuously reinforced concrete pavement. We had an existing concrete pavement that went through downtown San Antonio. It was a relatively sound and a structurally durable pavement, and it had lasted 20 years. So it was durable. It was lasting 20 years. And I tell you, every time I went over that, I would secretly hope that that pavement would fail. So we get there and do something with it, because it was loud, it was rough, and it was just a terrible pavement from the standpoint of comfort and safety. So, you know, I always would go through it and say, gosh, it's still there. I wish it would fail so we can do something to it. And we had history of the numerous wet weather accidents in that pavement. The concrete had become basically slick, and there was a lot of accidents and people were getting killed. And of course, the ride quality was poor. IRI was 200. And remember, our standard in Texas is IRI more than 65 is bad. And so this thing had gotten beyond bad. And it was one of the loudest pavements that we had. So we finally decided to go ahead and do something about this pavement. We went through a lot of different strategies of what to put on this pavement to improve the ride, reduce the noise, and improve the safety. That's all we wanted to do, because that pavement was not going to go anywhere. We decided to put 1.5 inches of asphalt rubber PFC, and by doing that, we improved the ride quality by 61%, improved the skid resistance by over 200%, and reduced the noise level by an average of 8 to 14 decibels. And these are measured by several different people. You've heard people coding numbers out there, you know, so many decibels. This is what we measured on this highway. Actually, one of those people that measured it was Doug Carlson and I. We went together. Doug, you remember that? We went together on the side of the highway and we measured it. I think we measured the 14. We were a little bit biased. So we came up with 14. The other guys came up with 8. So there is documented proof that we could reduce the noise, and we also know that there has been a significant reduction in major accidents on this piece of the interstate after the PFC. Here's a picture of the project during construction. The southbound lanes have already been completed, and the northbound lanes haven't been completed. This is during the rain. You can see the concrete pavement spray. Very poor visibility. You can't really see the striping very well. And then that same highway on the southbound lane is as if it's not raining. So basically, we feel like that the PFC just takes the rain away from the equation, really. There is no spray action. The Viper blades are not even running in some of these cars. So that's basically a striking difference between the two sides of the road. Now, we also collected some accident data on this stretch of road before and after placing the ARPFC. We looked at a 1-year period prior to the overlay, July 1, 2001 to June 30, 2002, a 1-year period. And then we compared it to a 1-year period after placing the overlay, which was November of 2002 to October 31 of 2003. We looked at the accident categories, major accident, meaning the injury, somebody got injured. Minor accident, meaning that nobody got injured, they just fender bender. And the information that we got was provided by the San Antonio Police Department. So non-biased party, really. If you look at the period before the overlay and compare it to after the overlay, first thing we looked at is the rainfall. You know, rain has a major effect. In the year before, we were getting about 32 inches of rain per year. In the year after, we got basically the same. So rain is the same. Good deal. Total days with measurable precipitation, 69 in the year prior to the overlay and 99 the year after. So we actually had 20 years more rain, which would cause the chances of accident to go up higher. Now, as far as major accidents, prior to overlay, we had 85 accidents. After the overlay, we had 48. So not quite half as much, but a significant reduction. And the major accident on days with precipitation, we had 39 accidents prior to overlay, 19 accidents after the overlay. So the accidents got basically half. So we feel like that this is a success story. We took a stretch of highway, made it more comfortable, less noisy, and then guess what? Not as many people are getting hurt on it. Now, in Austin District, which is a capital city, Austin is the capital of Texas, and we've done quite a bit of PFC all over the place. There are several projects, and one project that I want to show you the data on is a stretch of road we call FM 1431, Farm to Market. A lot of the roads in Texas were made to get the farmers into the market and basically get them out of the muds. And so this stretch of Farm to Market 1431 used to be a farm to market, but it's a very heavily traveled urban freeway now. The farms are gone, okay? And it's a 2-mile stretch of highway near Austin that has had a very bad history of wet weather accidents. And this was a very winding road, a lot of S-shapes, S-curves in it. A lot of people call it the dead man curve because you're going around the curve, you don't really see what's coming on the other side. So if you have a driveway intersecting the road and the S-curve, you're not going to be able to see who's coming in and out of that driveway, and that's where the accidents happen. And so it was a very dangerous driveway. Many people had gotten killed in there, and there was a school bus that had a major accident there, and that just really started the public crying about this. And TxDOT had to go do an emergency contract to do something to that roadway. There's plans to straighten up that road, but we couldn't wait till then, so we had to do something. We decided to put PFC on that project. The project was overlaid with a PFC layer in 2004 under an emergency contract. And we have collected accident data for 2 years following that overlay, and I would like to share that with you. Here is what that project looked like. Again, it's a project with a lot of S-curves in it and driveways intersecting. And you can see this pickup truck. We take a picture of this pickup truck on the PFC after placement of the PFC. And then here's that same pickup truck about 2 miles down the road on a dense graded hot mix. So this picture was taken within about a couple of minutes of each other. The thing that I would like to point to you are 2 things. Number one is look at the visibility of your striping. Much more visible striping. Striping is a highway safety feature. We put it in there not for cosmetic reasons, because we want people to see where they are at. And in this case, you see the safety feature. In this case, the safety feature is not visible. Another thing that I would like for you to pay attention to is the glare. Look at the glare on this picture versus the glare here. You know, in this kind of situation, you're not going to see the oncoming traffic. And so by reducing the glare and improving the visibility of the striping, you have just simply improved the safety. And look, there is no spray. So if somebody is going behind this pickup truck, they're not going to be in real bad danger. I'm going to show you a picture that I would like for you to take a look at. Here's that pickup truck, and we are following it in the dense graded section. You can see the spray behind the tires, and pay attention to the noise if you would. Okay, we are on dense graded section, and now we're going to enter the PFC section. And you can see, basically the spray has gone away. Note, the striping, how visible it is. And I don't know whether you caught it or not, but the noise just kicked in. A lot of the noise that you hear is the wiper blades in the pickup truck. But I think what I wanted to demonstrate to you is the difference between being behind this truck on a PFC section versus a dense graded section. And if you have ever been caught in a serious rainfall and you're stuck behind an 18-wheeler, you know the feeling that it has. You're just out of control. And we feel like that this type of paving surface really can help people just gain some confidence. Family members go put a cross in the roadway just for the memory and all that. And Dale Rand lives near this project, and we don't get a lot of snow in Texas, but one time we did get some in, I guess, 2004, and he went out there to look at this project to see, to look at the safety aspect of it, and he took a picture of these. He took a picture of these crosses, and it's pretty striking when you see all these many people killed in this little 2-mile stretch of road. Between 2001 and 2003, there were 124 accidents in this stretch of roadway. 68 of these accidents were during the wet weather, and there were 6 fatalities. 6 people died, although I count more than 6 crosses in here. So what that means is that probably some people that didn't die on the scene of the accident died later on in the hospital, and they don't count in the police statistics. And then a bunch of people got injured. And now, when we look at the police reports for these accidents, here's what the police says. These are not what we say. This is what the police says. The pavement was wet and slick. They're talking about the causes of the accident. Hydroplaning coming out of a curve. Vehicle slid into oncoming traffic. Driver failed to control the speed to avoid accident. Driver failed to adjust to roadway conditions. Other vehicle did not have time to take evasive action. This is what the police says was the cause of accident. And as highway engineers, what we want to do is we want to take some of excuses out of the highway. We want to make the highway such that if people do all that, they still get to live. Looking at the data, the accident data for 3 years preceding to the overlay, 2001, 2002, 2003. These are the data before the overlay, and these are 2 years after the overlay, okay? The thing that I want to point to you first is the annual rainfall, okay? Austin gets about 35 inches of rain a year. And you can see 3 years before the overlay, if you average it, that's about what we got. The year immediately after the overlay, we had a very rainy year. We had 52 inches. And the 2 years after, we got 22. So we're seeing extremes in the weather. Now, let's look at the total number of accidents. Before the overlay, you're looking at 25 to 48. Immediately after the overlay, it went down to 17. So it's a remarkable change. Year later, we had less rain, and we only had 6 accidents. Dry weather accidents, 10 to 22, and it really doesn't seem like it matters. So PFC doesn't matter in a dry weather. It doesn't help you any. And why should it? Okay, the reason for PFC is to take the water away from the roadway. Wet weather accidents, before the overlay, we were looking at 15 to 26, depending on what year. After the overlay, we went to 2. So that's where we think the success story is. It's not how much money we saved or how much longer the pavement lasted, is that we had that many less accidents. Here's the major success story. 6 people got killed in those 2-year period before the overlay, and after that, there's nobody killed. And incapacitating injuries, you can see after the overlay, we didn't have any the year after. We had one after that. And by and large, you can see that in any category, there is a success story in how we were able to reduce the number of accidents and improve the quality of people's life by putting in this type of pavement. So really, this becomes more than just build another job that lasts a long time and saves you some money. You're talking about saving people's life now. And that's a major factor in quality. I want to, 5 minutes? Okay. One other thing that we have learned from this project that is kind of really a side issue, we didn't even know that there was some benefit, is there is actually some environmental benefits from using PFC. Let me tell you what it is. Most of the water that we get for our drinking in Texas comes from underground, the aquifer. And so people and the government, they are very, very mindful of what runs off of the roadways because it could end up in the aquifer and pollute your water source. And, I got some statistics that talks about how much PFC we're doing. Basically, you can see Texas has gone to using PFC in a major way, 2 million in 2003 and 2005, and about 1 million in 2005. So I think everybody has woke up to what this thing can do, and they're building a lot of it all over the state. Another side environmental benefit that we get from from the PFC is basically the quality of the runoff that comes off of this project. TxDOT was doing a research project to measure the level of the pollutants that come off of the highway and try to find out what you can do to reduce these pollutants so they won't make it to our aquifer. And one of the things they wanted to do was to see if by planting grass and vegetation on the side of the road, they could reduce the level of this pollutant. There's this guy at UT doing this research, and basically what he was doing is he was going to the highways, setting these type of pipes to catch the water that comes off of the road. He would take the water and then analyze it for the pollutant levels. And he had this set up on what we call a Loop 360 in Austin. There's a highway in Austin. And he was doing his studies till we went in there and put PFC on top of the surface. It was not part of his study, and we didn't know what he was doing. So we just went ahead and did our job while he was doing his job. And he collected the pollutant for before and after the PFC. One of the things that's really important is the total solids, sediments that you get in your runoff. And in an existing hot mix, you can see the total solids are somewhere between 50 to 150 milligram per liters, maybe 120 as an average. In a PFC project, you're looking at about 10. So there is a significantly less amount of pollutants coming off of the PFC. Now, they tested this for a bunch of obnoxious stuff that I don't even know what they are. But I'll put the numbers up here for you to look at. The total solids, I understand, 117 milligram per liter from a conventional hot mix, 8 from PFC. This other junk is half as much. Nitrogen oxide doesn't change any. I think that's kind of a gas. And total particulate, it goes up a little bit. And so if you look at copper, 26.8 versus 5.7, lead, 12.6 versus 0.7. A lot of these pollutants, there is less of it coming off of the porous friction cores. Now, it does not make any sense to me why that happens. Why is that? Because I'm an asphalt guy, and they both use asphalt. Now, what this researcher says is that, let me tell you what his conclusion says. The permeable friction course has a significant impact on quality of runoff leaving the roadway surface. Runoff generated from the PFC has lower concentration of the total solids, total metal, and chemical oxygen demand. These improvements in water quality are as great as, if not greater than, the improvement gained from vegetation around the adjacent to the area. This guy's job was to go plant grass and see if the grass will do any good. And now he's mooching off of our PFC. So he says, okay, I'm done. All you got to do is go put PFC everywhere. You don't have that kind of money. From these results, it is evident that the runoff generated from PFC surface is of better quality than that of traditional asphalt. This improvement, now here's the reasoning, because I'm looking at why. This improvement may be the result of several factors. The amount of pollutant derived from the bottom of the vehicle may be reduced by reduction in splash and spray. Now, that makes sense. What he's saying is that when these cars are going over the road and there is a spray coming from behind them, this spray is coming actually from the engine and all the junk that's in there, which ends up on the roadway. So that's how you get that junk in there. In addition, these pollutants could be retained in the pores of the PFC. So PFC acts as a storage for the junk. A filter, okay. Because of this data that we have, and we have more of it from different parts of the state, TxDOT has significantly increased the use of the PFC in the highways. One of TxDOT's vision is to move the traffic in a comfortable manner that is safe. And we feel like the safety has improved significantly. And a lot of our interstate highways are now basically, we got design practice that says, whatever you do to interstate highway, you're going to put a PFC as a riding surface. Every bit of I-35 from San Antonio to Dallas is covered with PFC. And anything we got that's got a reasonably high speed, more than 50 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour, we'll get a PFC. And we use PFC with polymer-modified asphalt as well as rubber-modified asphalt. We use quite a bit of polymer-modified asphalt. We feel like that They both have their place. You can't just say that asphalt rubber is the only thing to use, but we feel like that in the asphalt rubber arena, we get our biggest bang for the buck from PFC. We could use it in seal coat or hot mix or a permeable friction course, and that's where we get the biggest bang for our bucks. And these are Dale Rand's dogs. He asked me to show these pictures and ask you if you got any question for his dogs.
Got a question in the middle here. Question in the middle.
Just a quick question, very impressive, the spray reduction. Has there been any testing done, especially after your comments about the storage of the solids? Been any testing done on like 10-year-old PFC, and if you're getting the same type of spray reduction and potential safety as with the new PFC?
No formal testing. We have made the observation that as these pavements get older, we lose some of that ability to reduce the spray. And there is some discussions really right now to see, one of the things that make the pavement clog is really the amount of binder. One of the conceptions we had was, the way we designed PFC is we would just put as much binder in it as we could until it started draining, okay? So that was our thought process. Put as much binder as you can, because we know that more binder means more durability. We also now know that more binder means that it's going to clog up faster. So we're starting to look at, how much binder do we really need to have in there for the durability purposes, and don't put any more. The short answer to your question is that, yes, you do lose some of that ability to reduce the spray as these pavements get older.
Having several times in my life been in Austin during an ice storm, I know it freezes there.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there are any observational experiences in terms of this type of surface being a safer surface under those episodes when the drivers clearly do not know what they're doing and are sliding all over the road, and whether with increased drainage, this is still a safer pavement.
Very good question. That's a question that a lot of our engineers ask. What happens if the pavement freezes, because water will expand and you'll get popping and all that. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of those occasions to study this. TxDOT actually has a research project looking at maintenance requirements for porous friction cores, especially in the colder climate. The coldest climate we got is Amarillo, and we have some pavements that we have instrumented over there. And what we know is that these pavements are one of the first ones to freeze and also one of the first ones to thaw. And where we go to get our information about the question you ask is places like Flagstaff, Arizona, or some of the places in Northern California. And what we get from the discussion is that there really is no difference. In fact, I think somebody in the audience this morning was talking about that and reinforced that there's no differences. But I don't know the full answer to that.
One more question up front. Last question.
To continue on the previous question, in ice storms, you know that it's icy. In the Northeast, one of the problems is the black ice, when you don't know that the water is there and it's frozen because it looks just like the asphalt surface. Does this help that problem?
Again, I can only speculate, but first-hand knowledge, I don't know that answer. Again, we don't get a lot of freeze occasions in Texas for us to really be able to study this, so I can't answer that question.